Welcome, everyone, to Partner Up with Amy Carroll. As a communication coach, trainer, speaker, and author, I'm delighted to be your host and excited to bring you insights and ideas to help you solve your communication conundrums. This is the 42nd episode of my show, Partner Up with Amy Carroll. If you want to find out more about me or what the show's about, feel free to listen to previous episodes on my website, carrollcoaching.com, or go directly to the VoiceAmerica.com business channel. Be sure to download the app, or you can always tune in using your favorite podcast app. If you missed last week's show, I interviewed Dr. Marianne Schmidt-Mass. She's a professor of organizational behavior and one of the 50 most influential living psychologists. We discussed how to fight implicit bias and protect against overusing one's power in order to become a leader worthy of following. Be sure to check out that episode from June 11th. Today, my guest is Kristin Engvig. Welcome, Kristin.
Thank you, Amy. It's an honor to be here.
It is. For me, it's a real treat. Your name has come up multiple times during these interviews with people. And I guess that's because I got to meet them thanks to you. So I'll share with the listeners shortly how that came to be. Though before I do that, listeners, I want to give you some background on Kristin so you know who I'm going to be interviewing and speaking with today. Kristin is a pioneer and a thought leader in the field of creativity, feminine, and authentic leadership. She embraces global responsibility through innovative leadership events and personal speaking engagements, which inspire women worldwide to become agents of possibility. I love that expression, Kristin, agents of possibility.
Cool, right?
Yeah, really cool. Kristin was named among Diversity Global Magazine's top 10 influential women in global diversity and won the International Alliance of Women Award. Kristin is dedicated over more than the past 22 years to women's leadership and organizational change in order to inspire others to create a world where business flourishes and societies thrive. Kristin created WIN, which stands for Women in International Networking, back in 1997 to bring to life a vision of more feminine, global, and sustainable ways of working at work, in the community, and life overall. And 22,000 individuals, hundreds of companies have attended WIN's live meetings, which have expanded around the globe. In her early career, Kristin worked for big companies such as JP Morgan, Citibank. Her education is as a business economist from Oslo, and then an MBA from, help me pronounce the name, Milan's Bocconi. Oh, that sounds gorgeous. Bocconi School of Management. And extensive studies in acting, Kristin has, as well as communication and women's development. Et voila, listeners. So you're in for a treat today.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kristin, I was thinking about how you and I first met, or when it was. So if you started WIN in 97, that means the first 3 years were in Italy, and then you moved over to Switzerland. So was it 2000, 2001 when you and I first met, or 2002?
We met in 2002.
Gosh, 2002. And so, listeners, I just luckily, having my own business, learned about WIN, this Women in Networking, and this conference was going on in Geneva, and it just sounded amazing. And even with that, I still had no idea what I was in for, Kristin. I mean, when you think back 20-something years ago, and there was music and flowers and dancing and art and yoga and meditation, and listeners, that was just those are the bells and whistles. Yeah. That wasn't even the main part of the conference. And so for me, what has been so wonderful, aside from it being fabulous for my business and meeting clients, it also has produced a couple of lifelong friendships. So thank you for that, Kristin.
You're welcome. Yeah.
And you know that Karen and I are very good friends. So Karen she actually she interviewed me for this radio show. She was the very first episode we did. We switched roles. And so she was my interviewer.
That's great.
And I think of a couple of quotes that come from past participants. I think Robin Pash described Win as a spa for the mind and the soul.
Yeah.
And another woman by the name of Linda Love said, attending Win made me feel like I could take on the world. That's true. The energy, I remember after the very first one, I was kind of like, it used to, that was in the good old days when you had it like Friday through Sunday.
Yeah.
I literally, and I'm like a major extrovert, Kristin, and I just went home, just the energy, in my body. I'm not sure I slept very well that first night. It was intense.
Yeah, it's so intense.
How would you describe Win to people who have never attended or think, oh, I'm thinking about going? How would you explain it to them?
Yeah, I would like to explain it like it's an incredible learning experience. So you go there because you can learn from speakers who talks about the latest trends, the future work, and you will have workshops to learn many new skills. And that's not the only thing. You will learn it in an environment that's almost like a party. And when I'm saying that, I
Yes.
don't mean an unserious way, but it is really a combination of a school and a party. And there is lately become more research on this too, saying we learn more when we are in joy. So I think this is also one of its strengths, that we come together and this open atmosphere, and we feel so happy to be with each other, and this almost party feeling comes alive as we are talking about the challenges of the world, and also how we can be the solutions for it. So it's quite this nice combination.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that's why it appeals to me so much, is because I love the joy and the play and the celebration. Yeah, Win has that in spades, as they say.
Yeah, it does.
So, Kristin, when I think about you having grown up in Norway, then moving to Italy, and then after that, Switzerland, I'm curious to know, how did your roots impact your decision to launch the Win Conference?
Yeah, wow. Yeah, so as you said, I grew up in Norway, and Norway is quite an egalitarian country. So I grew up as a young woman with a female prime minister, quite a lot of female politicians, also quite a homogeneous culture, but I felt very egalitarian ways towards boys and girls and women and men. And when I started to travel abroad, I didn't meet the same reality. I saw that the differences were much bigger elsewhere. And this has been confirmed by studies. I've seen the UN, they have reports on the best place to work and live for women. And Norway or the Scandinavian countries are normally always hitting the top. And the same goes for World Economic Forum studies also.
Right.
But for me, at first, I didn't even realize. I started to work in big bank, and I felt, I don't know, it was something strange. I wasn't really heard. I didn't feel seen. I didn't feel valued or felt. So that was strange for me. And I think in the beginning, I even put it on myself. Oh God, maybe I'm not good enough. What's wrong here? But as I continued, and then I started traveling a lot with another job, and I saw around the world how so many people were not valued, and particularly not women. So it influenced me a lot in the sense that I had experienced, I knew how it would feel like to be in a place where there was higher egalitarianism and where women were playing active roles in decision making more than I did other countries. I had seen it. So when I talked about it, it wasn't just a strange vision, but it was something I knew was possible.
Right.
So that was a driving force. I sort of wanted to recreate Norway everywhere I went. Another thing maybe also, that in Norway, you're quite, in some ways, at least when I grew up, we're quite taken care of. Also, it's very good welfare system. You dare to take risk. You feel like, okay, if you fall out of the system, you will be picked up, and it doesn't only depend on your family. So I think I felt quite safe inside to take risk and go out and try to make a difference and a change. So I think it played on these two levels. One, I had a safe base, and two, I had a vision.
Wow, that's so clear. And that, I know that we're, that importance of the safe base.
Yeah.
And I remember listening to someone speaking a couple of weeks ago about universal basic income, and he said it gives people the power to say no and the freedom to say yes.
Exactly. And this is how I felt. I felt that. even when later maybe maybe it was more risky. I was not in Norway anymore, but still I had that feeling inside that I grew
Right.
up with.
Yeah, it was ingrained in you enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so you were clearly a pioneer starting WIN.
Yeah.
Describe that for me in more detail.
Yeah. I mean, at first I think I was a little naive in the sense that I thought, oh, we have to do something because women are not heard and seen and valued and felt like I wanted it to be. And also as a young woman, I had lots of enthusiasm and lots of energy. And I thought, okay, internet was coming. Let's change the game right now so we can be on the forefront with the right skills. And let's bring everybody up. Let's bring everybody in from Africa to India to Germany to Iceland, every country together. And, I was like, yeah. And then I also saw after the actually first conference, I saw a lot of women that had taken on a very sort of male role. I saw them had also taken on and given away a lot of themselves, and that I was a bit touched by that. And I started to explore, how can we do things also in another way? Maybe start exploring or authenticity or feminine side and bring that into business. And that was very, very new at the time. So we're talking almost 25 years ago. And then I thought, let's bring well-being. We do a little yoga in the morning. We bring flowers, bring music. And people thought I was totally nuts in the beginning. And when you're listening to this today, you may wonder why that was so weird, but it was actually. And particularly this combination of looking at business where we do that with beauty also. We do that with trust and integrity, and we try to create well-being amongst each other. So my first was just go for it. I didn't understand or I didn't think about the obstacles that much. But of course they came, and what I have learned that when you go early, when you are the first or amongst the first, is it's very important because you can be the pathfinder. It's like artists and early innovators. There will always be someone that comes to you and love it because they also want to be part of the leading edge of things.
Right.
But there are also a lot of skeptical people because like you're crazy maybe, or this cannot be done and so on.
Yeah.
So what I learned was to make sure I kept the latter group, those that were telling me, oh, that's not possible, a little bit on a distance.
Yes. So smart. You did that consciously?
Yeah, I did it quite consciously.
Excellent.
Because I realized quite early that those existed.
Yeah.
But I had enough people who said, yeah, can I help you? And let's be part of it. So that was important. And I mean, maybe in the very, very beginning, I didn't really understand, but I quickly understood to keep the others a little bit away.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean not listening to critique and feedback. That's a different thing. But you have to listen to feedback from people who really want you well, and who sort of get a little bit about where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, also in the beginning, it was small, all volunteer run, so it was not so threatening to people. But what I realized later, when it got a little bigger and more companies came in, I had bigger sponsorship, there was more money, and then it was a second wave of having to really stay strong in my pioneering activities, because then there were people, saying, why are we dancing, or why are we moving our bodies? And they didn't really, that's not corporate enough, or that's not business enough. And but again, I knew that this is good for us. I knew it's good for us to move. I knew it's good for us to laugh and be happy. And so I kept going, but that's the hard part sometimes, because now you see 2021 and everybody talks about wellness. Everybody talks about how to find balance and stuff, and all the feminine values that exist in women and men have now been more valued, at least by many people, not everybody still. So I think when you're a pioneer, you have to really follow your intuition. You have to navigate a bit into the future, and then make sure you have people who support you around you. And then you had to learn to bridge, because what is interesting too, I think, is when you're a pathfinder or a pioneer, is that of course you want to bring the people with you when you're convinced that this way is good for them. Even it's just they don't see it yet.
Right.
So you had to sort of try to find ways to communicate and network or build bridges so you can bring people along, and so they feel good. And in most of the cases, I think we succeeded in doing that. And some left, but that's okay. It's not for everybody. Also,
No.
this is also so cool. You can also say, "Why? This is a global experience, and people can come from all over the world, and they will feel alignment with this proposal." So
Yeah.
that's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, it's even though I know a lot about the Win story and the history, it's really still fascinating for me to hear it again. And congratulations to you for being aware of, there's they say the naysayers and the supporters, and just being consciously making that decision to create a bit of space. And I know when I first moved to Switzerland, it was for me similar. I got feedback literally from another American woman who told me, "Oh, girl, you have got to rein it in. No one is going to, you're just too much for people." And I tried. I really like different little ways. I tried to be, reserved. And at some point I was like, everyone's not going to love me anyway. So let me see if I can be at peace with everyone not loving me. And I suspect there's going to be enough other people that will want what I have, and that will keep me busy for life.
Yeah.
So like you, I had to make a conscious choice to say, okay, it's all right that not everyone's going to be on board.
Yeah,
And
it is. And I think also when we deal with women, like now, we have to also remember that we have had patriarchy for about 6,000 years or so. And the values of the patriarchy of giving value to hierarchy, giving value even to men more than women, or to certain value system, is not only lived by men. Also women, we have grown up in the same cultures and so on.
right.
So the proposal of Win that has also been trying to propose things like, oh, this is of the feminine, even women can reject it, because even if it might be of their nature, but since it was new, and since we have learned to give less value to much of what comes from women, I mean, so this awakening that's now going on amongst women, with lots of self-realization and a lot of acceptance and a lot of loving ourselves, that's been part of this journey. We have seen so much evolution in these past 20 years. So, yeah.
I don't know if I ever told you this. So listeners, one thing to be aware of, even though this is a women's conference, there's some very brave, courageous, progressive men who attend as well. And they're very, men of all types are encouraged, and they have a wonderful time. And I don't know if this is what happened, Kristin. This was several years ago. One of the male participants had been a participant of mine in the workshops I do. And he came up to me, he said, "Amy, I don't know why I'm here. I think I'm being punished." And I said, "Why do you think that?" He was, "Well, there's just, there's not that many men here." And so for him, it was very destabilizing to be in a conference with so many women, and then also kind of thinking he didn't fit in. And fast forward 3 days later, I said, "So, hey, how's it going?" He goes, "Oh my God, this is amazing. I'm so happy."
Yeah, I know.
So it was just extraordinary to see his transformation over those 3 days.
Yeah, this is also, so actually many men have written to me and talked to me after, and they said it was extraordinary transformation for them. It's because and I asked them why. Everybody was so open, and then I said, "And you like that?" And I said, "Yeah, they like that," and they admit that they became more open too in an environment that's open, which makes me think sometimes it's not, but it isn't only about women. It's just this: if we can create a place where we feel it's okay to be yourself and dare to be open, it's men love that too,
Yep.
And there was one guy that was at the gala dinner, and I said, and I was sitting next to him, and he was saying like, "Oh, this is a wonderful party." And I said, "Weren't you here last year?" I said, "Yeah, but I didn't go to the dinner." He said, "Oh, no, I didn't dare to," he said. And then I said, "But this year you're courageous." And he laughed. So yeah, I understand. But this is also how many women have felt in very male-dominated places in the past.
Right.
So I think it's an interesting experience for them too.
Yeah. Kristin, we've known each other these 20 years now, and I'm curious to know, how would you say your leadership style has transformed over that time?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think in the beginning, I was very consensus type a leader, very consensus driven, very, yeah, in a way Scandinavian, involving everybody, listening to everybody, and then making the decision. I mean, I'm which is quite normal up in the north. And I think, apply that style with my team to a certain degree, a lot of consultative way, listening to everybody. But I ultimately make the decision also. But it is, and yeah, well, it still is a little bit like that. It's a balance of listening to people and receiving information, and then going forward. And I think this is important. It is also very situational. So during the year, with my team, advisory board, or various people from our ecosystem of speakers, sponsors, participants, it's a style of listening. It's very listening style. But during an event itself, and it's very fast, we switch it a little more into a hierarchical way, because then you need fast, you need clarity. So I think it's very agile style. And mine is very people based, because I like to be with people most of the time, or I also like to be completely alone and sit and write and invent stuff and do my nerdy things. So I have but I think I have a good balance between exactly this feminine and masculine.
Yeah, and you talk often about that, and that's a great example. What's another example, or do you want to expand on that distinction between feminine and masculine style of leadership?
Yeah. And again, it's just in some ways just labels, but we know from Chinese they talk about yin and yang, and in yoga we talk about feminine and masculine. And the feminine is this receptivity or beingness, and the masculine will be your doingness or action or goal setting or strategic way. And when we talk about the feminine or beingness, and that's something that I talk a lot about, and I try to exemplify that it's not only about, I have a strategy into the future, but I try to work on it also vertically on developing me. So I am what I'm talking at. So in the feminine will be that I receive and I radiate. So it's my ripple way of being. So if I am what I'm talking about, if Win itself is a conference that is an experience, then the whole event will ripple out this inspiring energy. While the masculine would be, okay, let's set a goal, let's go there and create structure. And we need this balance. We need the structure so that things can be going with the flow, in the flow of the feminine. And also when you look at, for instance, networking, you have the way of traditional way. I set a goal, I'm going to meet these people. You look in the book, who are you going to meet? And you go get them, But a Win is much more synchronistic. I try to create this environment where pick a workshop. You don't pre-select, you go. When the room is full, we close the door. You don't get in. You have to find another one. Pay attention to who is sitting next to you. Go sit with someone you don't know yet. Whoever you meet, that is the person you need to talk to. So I'm trying to create this more synchronistic way of connections. And I live quite my life like that too, in the creation of the agenda. I try to see, what's coming to me? What is, so you live this creative way, this flow way. And that is the feminine way.
Wow.
And it needs structure too.
Yeah.
So that's this thing of going between the two. But since the feminine hasn't had enough value over the past, thousands of years, I'm also become quite an advocate of the feminine, of beauty, of giving it value, giving value to the context, not only content. Because if you're in a garden where the flowers can grow well, that garden has meaning, and that's the context.
Right.
So it's not only about looking at how productive is that one person, but what is that surrounding the bigger thing, the nice house where you feel safe, the nice office where you can feel safe, and that's the intangible, and that's part of the feminine, and that has value, and creating that consciously so people can really flourish.
That's
it's
nice.
Also part of my leadership and part of my way. So and the proposal of Win.
Yeah. Kristin, we're going to take a break now. And when we come back, I'm going to ask you, so I'll give you a minute to consider, what are some of the gremlins that you have eliminated in your life? Because as a pioneer, as a woman in business, there's certainly been, I'm sure, challenges you've had. So I'm going to ask you about that. Though, listeners, if you want to connect with and find out more about Kristin, go directly to her website, winworld.global. I'm going to spell that for you, WINWORLD.global. And be sure to sign up for the newsletter so you can join her leadership conference experience. And maybe you decide you want to go to the next one in November, which is going to be both in Dubai and online. And listeners, if you're ready to take your superhero partner powers into the next decade, join me for my online leadership presence course. You'll find details on my website, carrollcoaching.com. And that's Carroll with 2 R's and 2 L's. And when we come back from break, we'll be hearing more from Kristin, what she has to say about her gremlins. Stay tuned. You're listening to Partner Up with Amy Carroll on the VoiceAmerica Business Channel. Welcome back. My guest today is Kristin Engvig, and we've been discussing the WIN conference that she started 20 plus years ago and what she has learned along the way. So, Kristin, as I said just before the break, I wanted to find out from you if you would tell us what have been some of the gremlins that you've had to fight with and you've been able to eliminate.
Wow.
And how you've done it. Give us the how too.
Oh my God, there's been so many. And also working on women's empowerment, I've had to empower myself too in some ways. I remember some of the first things I was fighting with, I think was this, I felt, oh my God, when I started, I was in Italy, which is also valuing seniority quite a lot. And I was in my late 20s when I started, and I always felt very, very young, and I don't know if I could do it. And then I come from a small town in a small country, and I remember feeling like, oh God, I don't know, I was not sure if I was up to it, but still I did it, right? So, and one of the early challenges was about that. And I remember the Norwegian skier team was winning a lot of gold medals that year, and I thought
the Norwegian ski team.
Yeah, ski team.
Okay.
And I remember thinking that's very different than me, but like, oh, they were pretty good. Okay, so even if I'm from a small country in a small town, these people are also that. And they were winning all these gold medals, and I thought, okay, then I can do this too. But I
love that. So you got inspiration from your home country ski team. That's fantastic.
But that was maybe a little more external. But what I realized over the years as this got bigger too, and was one was some external gremlins. I mean, that was more like learning new things, speaking in front of people, learning new skills, and dealing with one country after another. I mean, I've done this in Japan, I've done this in Nigeria, I've done this in India. So I had to learn, new cultural skills and finding people and finding funding and finding. So this is, let's say, on the skill level and on the pragmatic level too. Is a lot of learning, which sort of always worked out. And I think the biggest challenges were more on my inner journeys, on my own inner gremlins.
You can call them whatever you want.
So whatever we can call them, because I think it was this. Because on the one hand, we're out there in the world and speaking about business, and on the other hand, this is also about the feminine and about beauty and everything. And I'm also sensitive in the, like, I am sensitive in my skin. I feel things and I can create things, but then also sometimes it's overwhelming with all the people. And I guess I also took hard that if things were, I was also a little perfectionist, and which I think is a problem for many young women today too.
Yes.
I wanted everything to be perfect.
Yeah.
And in the early days, and when it wasn't, I took it very hard. And if people criticized it, I took it hard. So I had to overcome that. And I've been working on that until now, how to be kinder with myself. And even if it's not perfect, how to love myself no matter what, as long as I do my best. So then I started these mantras. But if I do all I can, that's what I can do. So that's been what I'm telling my team also.
Kristin, let me challenge you. You said if I could do all, are there times when you allow yourself to not do all you can because that's the right thing?
Yeah, that's been coming up much more lately, I feel,
Oh.
because because sometimes you just got tired, like it's so much.
That's it. That's all I got.
But it's something about at least do all that you can, and within. And so here's the thing: what I learned also is to put a deadline to things, like, because
Mm,
maybe you think, if you are like my shadow would be the perfectionism, work all the time. That is now to put deadlines. Okay, within these limits, I work all I do, but I have to take time off. I mean, I was so crazy some years. I worked from early in the morning until late at night, Saturday, Sunday, all the time, completely workaholic. And and yes, it built up wins. So in the one side, it's good, but it was too much. So then I
mm.
had to stop. Weekends off, Sunday off. One day you absolutely don't look at your email, you don't do WhatsApp, you don't do any of these things. And so I had to put boundaries, and I think that's been a big challenge for me over the years, to put boundaries, and boundaries for myself.
Yeah.
Because people can call you any hour. I work on all time zones, you work
Right.
on all, and now with more and more communication means, it can be a total nightmare.
Yeah.
And then on the one hand, I also started to get more requests from around the world, but then my time went to talk to all these people, while I also needed to take care of finding funding to run the office and stuff. And then I neglected that a little bit, because I also thought it was fun to be out there with the people. So then I had another challenge. But I think the biggest challenge for me was this of my own insecurities, feeling I wasn't enough, and therefore run into perfectionism and
Yep.
overwork. And how that healing journey of coming back to myself and understanding that I deserve to have space for
Yeah.
me and take time off and enjoy myself. Although enjoy the work too. This is a fun experience. And at the same time, so these boundary settings have been a big thing for me. That we are teaching on women's empowerment.
Yeah.
I have It's not like any of those things that I talk about is not something I haven't gone through myself. I mean, I have
Right.
been to all those corners of women's shadow side almost, so I experienced a lot of different things that I had made me have to go deep, from
Mm-hmm.
men to all sort of things. So 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 um, so that was not only easy, but what is a good thing, I feel now I can go everywhere on the planet, and I have
Mm.
compassion with so many women, because I understand also personally so many things, from the harassment issue
Yeah.
to the insecurity issue. So it's sometimes people say, oh, it's a beautiful positioning, like talking about the feminine, but it's so much deeper than that. This is
Yeah.
really a real thing. So.
And I want to ask you, and I feel like you're starting to get at it. What you're saying now is about authentic leadership, because that's something you talk a lot about, and it's
Yeah.
important to you.
Yeah.
What does that mean for you? What's an example of authentic
Yeah.
leadership?
Yeah. I think so. For me, the meaning is that something that's of our nature, and it's almost like a process of discovery and exploration for ourselves. It's to find that which is of our nature, the seed, let's say, that we came here with, and that we are here to blossom as. Um, so it's more than just innovative idea or a fancy hat, let's say, although that can be fun expressions as well. But it is to try is this lifelong, I would say, quest to find ourselves and find ourselves again and again, and a journey, an inner journey of asking also, who am I today? Who am I really? Um, and I think when it comes to that type of leadership, it means then that whether it doesn't need to be, it means to lead from who you are, but with who you are too, because we're not ever in isolation. We are with other people or with other things, with nature and everything. So it is about this finding these true relationships with others and with what we're with, and not to copy things or fake things, but try to find what is true here. And it does require some inner work, because if we are just always searching from the outside, that is not authentic. So when you see this in leadership, it will be um, people who do reflect a little bit on themselves and on the others, who are good at listening, I feel. And I also want to stress that it doesn't need to be, oh, you're leading the World Bank or IBM, or it can also simply be leading your own life. Because when you're leading
Right.
a life as an authentic person
Mm-hmm.
in today's world, and as a woman in this time where millions of women have been submissed, or
Yeah.
almost slaves in certain cultures, even just coming out as you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing else than that. It requires your leadership of yourself, let's say.
Yeah. And when I'm listening to you, what's coming up for me is there's a theme that I hold for myself, like maybe I call it a standard, which is being fully self-expressed.
Yeah.
And so I will sometimes check in with myself when I'm in a situation. Usually it's in a social situation, and I challenge myself, am I being fully self-expressed? Like, here's a quick example. I was in India at a conference on nonviolent communication. It was the first evening, and the entertainment was late. And so they said, anybody who wants to come up and read a poem or sing a song or do a dance, you're welcome to. And I checked in with myself, Chris, and I realized, oh no, I want to sing a song. And this is a problem because I'm a really, really bad singer. Like, kind of like got kicked out of chorus, kind of, in fourth grade kind of level. And I knew that if I didn't do it, I wouldn't be fully self-expressed. I would have denied my, something. So I turned to my good friend Emma, and I look at her and I said, Emma, I'm so sorry. She's like, what do you mean you're sorry? And then she sees me stand up and walk over to the microphone. She's like, and she knows how bad I sing. She's like, no, Amy, don't. And I got up and I said to everyone, okay, so I'm going to sing a song. I know I'm a terrible singer, so don't worry. I know this already. And when I finish singing, I would like you to respond like you're at your favorite, like a rock concert and I'm your favorite singer. And they're all like, okay. So I had a lot of play and joy with it. I took the pressure off them, letting them know not to worry. This is not Celine Dion here. And that's something that happened so many years ago. And it still gives me that sense of joy. And it's for me, the word is compass, to have your inner compass to know, how does being fully self-expressed and authentic mean? What does that mean for you?
And this also brings us back to creativity and a creative life. And as we go forward in the world now, and this is also part of one of the pillars of winning, authenticity and creativity, because if we are co-creating the future, so I'm not only ideating it, like planning it, but creating it, then this exact listening that you talked about, it came up in you at, oh, I have to sing. And then you think about, oh God, but I'm not a good singer. But was already there. It came from somewhere. Sorry. And it's like sometimes I walk somewhere before I even decide to walk. This type of, when that happens, and we are then creating, and the words are just coming, and then from another we can co-create. And that's a very, very important awareness to have as we move forward also into the future, I think, because so many things are changing now and so fast, and we have to learn that more and more, and to speak when you feel that urge to speak, and also be quiet when that is another urge. And that's when we get this dance of life that emerges, and which is very exciting. But of course, it's scary when you said, oh, I'm going to sing, and you realize what you just said.
And it's also, if I face my fear and I survive it, then I gain courage. That's the benefit.
Yes.
So I'm curious to know, how have you seen leadership evolving globally in general, and then also for women?
Yeah, I think it has become more and more, what we can say, feminine. So both women and men over this past 20 years or so have become more collaborative. So what we said, okay, let's get into collaborative and creative leadership styles, is now happening also amongst men. So if you glance through, a LinkedIn feed or something in tomorrow morning or tonight, you will see a lot of people talking about that. So, authenticity, let's collaborate. So we see that this part towards the more collaborative style. So it's become more feminine also for women and men. So that's something. But it's also another part. There's also some of this leading enormous things. So where you have leaders of companies that are becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I don't know yet what to make of that. But I think if you see in the smaller scale of leadership, it is on the one hand becoming more authentic and collaborative, and on the other hand, it feels like that old style of command and control there is falling away, and at the same time it may also be quite present because they may try to hold on to it as long as it lasts. So sometimes it can be present, quite present for some, but I am quite hopeful that this new collaborative style is coming more and more.
And you're right. It's interesting that old-fashioned style is becoming not more pronounced. It's just that when you see it, it seems more ridiculous.
Yeah,
you know, 20 years ago, people put up with it. They accepted it as. Now it's kind of like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can.
So knowing what you know today, what's your advice or recommendation for leaders?
Yeah, I think particularly the sensitive ones, I will say, believe in yourself, because and your voice is needed, because there was a study I saw that many of the CEOs of the world's biggest companies are not are more towards the sociopath side of the scale than to the highly empathic side. Well, we need the empathic leaders that understand other people. If you're going to have more inclusion, if you're going to have more collaboration, so it is important that the empathic and compassionate and sort of the collaborative leaders are visible, even if it might take more from them, because they will feel everybody. So, but somehow we need that. But if you are of that type, I would say, don't be shy. You are right. Don't you are needed in the world. The world needs that. And the world really needs generous people too. It's appalling sometimes what's going on, So kindness and simple etiquette and generosity is extremely important, and can also make you go a long way and make people respect you.
Yeah, and it's shocking. Okay, so I was just giving a training this afternoon, and one of the participants said, I went to a meeting and one of the senior vice presidents, he was greeting everyone and he was so warm and he was so friendly, and he used my name and he asked how I was doing. And she said, and she's already very high in the organization. And yet here she had a more senior person who saw her, who acknowledged her, who connected with her. Not much more than that. And she said, it gave me a fantastic mood for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And the more, I think that what's important for leaders to appreciate is that they have this power, and that the more generous they are with it by connecting with and acknowledging other people, they can't really appreciate how significant that is.
Yeah, it's huge. And this is also part of what I said, is context creation, because this way they create cultures where people feel appreciated and seen, and then they will automatically probably even do more, because they feel they are more and they're seen. So this is hugely important.
Yeah, agreed with that. And something I want to skip back a moment, when we're talking about authentic leadership, I think you talk a lot about self-reflection, and I think sometimes a nice way to cheat, and your ego, it's kind of hard on your ego sometimes though, is get feedback from people you trust, who are willing to speak their truth to you.
Yeah. Very important. Because we all have, no matter how many journaling books you're writing, so to speak, and how much yoga you do and meditation, there will always be blind spots. So you have to make sure you find people who can give you feedback. And I think also choose wisely there. Be with people. Somehow the people who are a bit aligned to you know where you want to go, so that they don't drag you in another direction. Because that's happened to me. To someone said, "Oh, Kristin, don't start with a meditation. It's crazy. You scare them." But that was not good feedback, because it was important to do that. It was just a little bit, a couple of years ahead of the others or something. But a good feedback would be, try to find a bridge so they understand what you're doing. That could have been a good thing, but not to eliminate it, or at least I think so. But what my experience is, maybe I was wrong, but I don't think so. So find someone who really wants, or they must want you well. They must really, really want you well. I think that's the point. So and then learn to give feedback to others too, but with love, with care. So not it doesn't need to be harsh. It just needs to be feedback. Because also, if you want to be a leader, or at least if you want to lead other people, not just yourself, but if you want to have an extraordinary life, whether you're an artist or a banker, you need to overcome little gremlins on the inside, and learn new things from the outside. And having people who can give you a little bit of feedback makes you excel, and you become richer as a human inside, not necessarily in money. And if you do that too, why not? But it's also this richer as a human, because you just are more whole.
Yes. You're less fragile. You're healing some of your trauma. I finally realized, Kristin, that we're all pretty much born into this world with trauma that was either passed on to us, or our lives have presented it to us.
Yes.
And
this is also something, I think, in my leadership. I was looking at something specific the other day on how I entered into the Japanese market, or how we started work in Japan. I didn't really enter market and that was the point. Someone asked me, "Oh, what was your strategy, and why did you go to Japan instead of China?" And I said, well, it was nothing, was not a goal nor a strategy really, but I had a love for the country. I'd been there a few times before, and then a little bit by coincidence, I met Japanese people who came to the global conference. They invited me over. Then one of my sponsors in Europe said, "Oh, Japan is a difficult market for us. Let's do something." And I realized we did so many things, and it was because of very good connections, and it was also a little bit because of decisions that I had chosen even a long time ago. When you are, should I do or should I not? And you say yes. And then another time in life, should I do or should I not? And you say yes again. And suddenly this makes up almost a path or a pattern. And you realize God is almost like a destiny path, that I met all these people and I paid attention, created connections with them, get deep friendship or business connections, but they're good, trustworthy relationships. And then suddenly you do it. So this is this feminine, or this more soulful way for women and men to work. So it's not only, oh, let's decide where you're going to go, and that's also okay, but it depends on your nature, what's easiest for you. But I have done a lot in that other way, where I connected with people.
Me too.
Together, and I'm almost pulled into that place, or pushed from behind, or I don't know, something.
Yeah, in fact, I would say that is an improv. You and I both share the power of improvisational theater, and that's an improv attitude of saying yes.
Yeah.
So, Kristin, my friend, we are starting to wrap up, and before we do, I want to steal something from Brene Brown that she does on her podcast. It's a quick fire questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So, what advice do you have for young women just starting their careers?
Yes. So believe in yourself, but also listen to older women, older than you. So it's both, you can do it and you can learn from others, and support each other and make an extra effort. And in the supporting each other, it's also support each other where you are. No, oh, I need to meet a very important person. Yeah, that's right. But if you support each other where you are now today, imagine the network you will have later when everybody goes on.
Yeah, nice. And next one, what challenge would you like to offer well-established white male leaders?
Guys, go and join the WIN conference and merge yourself in a group of well-hearted, well-being women.
That's brilliant.
And just get yourself more informed about the topic. I know many of you are well-meaning, and it's just about waking up. And a lot of women need to wake up too. Many women are also in the patriarchy. They're not alone, these guys.
True.
Yeah.
And finally, what advice do you have for global citizens?
Yeah, global citizen. I think global citizen are the lack of living in different countries or being in different cultures and understanding the movement and the goings of the world has that understanding and is to share with the local people, but also listen to the local people, because it's almost like that dance of the feminine and masculine. I mean, there's certain global trends and forces and things moving
Right.
that we tap into, and it's good to understand because you can see what's coming when you understand the big picture of things. But at the same time, it can also warm your heart a lot to hear stories of the local people, and don't get cocky because you know the world. That's
Right.
also keep
Right.
your feet on the ground.
Right.
So it's this is a very important thing.
Okay, so now, Kristin, in 20 seconds, based on everything we've talked about today, what's your call for action for listeners?
Yeah, call for action is support others, support particularly other women, lift up other women, and also when you are with men, assure them this is not anything against them.
Nice.
It's for women. There is space for women, there's space for men, there's space for all of us. In the name of the feminine, it's about collaboration, it's about being together, but it's not about stepping on each other. And also for women, believe in yourself. There is no need to pull anyone down, because you will not become bigger and more because of that. So collaborate, care, and share, and make an
Collaborate,
and
care, and
care and
share.
share.
Nice.
And then nothing actually comes on its own. Even we can sit and meditate, but we do need to make an extra effort too. So that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Beautiful. So something I would like to, my first call for action to listeners is consider taking self-assessments to increase your self-awareness. I think it's a nice combination between the journaling and the getting feedback from other people. And listeners, send me your communication conundrums, clashes, challenges, mishaps, blunders, and successes. You can send those to me via email or social media. I'll read them and discuss them on future shows and make suggestions. My email is amy@carrollcoaching.com, and that's Carroll with 2 R's and 2 L's. And if you want to connect with Kristin, remember you can check out her website, winworld.global. That's WINWORLD.global. Sign up for that newsletter and get connected to her leadership conference experience. Now, for next time, be sure to switch on, tune in, listen up, and be inspired next week, because I'm going to be interviewing Matthias Hartman, back by popular demand. I spoke to Matthias a couple of months ago. And this episode, we're going to be discussing the fear of rejection, its impact on your life, and what to do about it. Now, feel free, listeners, to connect with me on my social media channels, Amy Carroll Coaching. Also, if you're game for more, I'm going to be hopping over to Facebook Live 5 minutes past the hour for a short chat on today's show. Kristin, thank you. It's been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you, Amy.
And listeners, thank you for tuning in. You've been listening to Partner Up with Amy Carroll on the Voice America Business Channel. Happy partnering, everyone.